Okay, so quadratics, descriptors, what happens? So we can think about the normal. That's normal, that's a quadratic. And then we're going to graph this one, and then we're going to see what happens. Okay, so let's get our calculator to do the thinking for us. So y equals, I got stuff in there. I'm going to zoom 6 mine right away, actually, just to reset it. Zoom 6, y equals, everything's back to the start. Okay, I'm going to go x squared. And then I'm going to do the other one. So I'm going to do both of them in there. Make sure this -2 is the little negative symbol, not the subtract symbol. Everyone knows the difference between a negative and a subtract. Okay, that symbol, if it's typed in wrong, it'll mess everything up. So this one's the baby negative symbol, and this one's the subtract symbol. Okay, there's my original, and here's my new. Okay, I need to have 4 answers on this. There's a negative symbol that does something. There's a 2 that does something. There's a 1 and there's a 6. There's 4 answers here. Okay, anybody want to tell us what the negative symbol did to that shape? It moves right, and that would be because of the subtract 1. So that moved it right, yep. What did the negative do to the shape though? It flipped it. What did the 2 do to this shape? Anybody remember what that multiplier does? Remember the arms? It changes the arms of it. What's going on with the arms now? Does anybody see it? It's not maybe as noticeable. It narrowed, it got skinnier. I don't know if you can see it much, but it is a little bit skinnier. Obviously, if I change that 2 to something bigger, like 10, or I'll go 9 here. If I change it to something bigger even, can you see it more? There, if I changed it to 9, look at how much skinnier it is, right? So if that number goes up, it goes skinnier. Okay, and anybody know what the +6 did at the end? Like, where is this point on the top there? It went right 1 and
Moved
up 6. So those are the 4 answers that I'm looking for. Okay? On your test, on your exam, I don't know if you want to put this on your cheat sheet, transformation descriptors. We can list, if you want to list a bunch, transformation descriptors. You can write on your cheat sheet, flipped, narrow widened, left right, or up down. Those are the options that you would have to pick from when I say what are the descriptors. So it can flip, the arms can go up, widen or narrow, and you can move left right, or you can move up down. Okay, next we're going to graph this, so just go ahead and type that one. So usually when I graph, I like to think about the vertex, and I like to think about the x-intercepts and the y-intercept. So those are some important points to kind of look at. So there's the rough sketch that I see with all those key points on it. Is that what we're looking at when we see it on our calculator? Okay, obviously arrows because your calculator can't show you, but it is going on forever and ever. Okay, so direction of opening, it is opening up. And that's because it's a 2, not a -2. Vertex. So this point is on the bottom. So how do we find it? Second, calculate the minimum, the lowest, the minimum. So that's where you can move your mouse left, enter, right, enter, enter. So -3, -7 is what I got. And I kind of knew that already because I looked at these numbers left 3, down 7. That I remembered that from the last question. This goes left 3 and this goes down 7. And that's what it did. Okay, the axis of symmetry is if we could cut it in half. So that's where I could cut it. Now this is important. You have to write x equals, because remember vertical lines are x equal lines. So what is the x value anywhere here? What is the x value that we're going through? Should match the vertex, right? The -3. Okay, the x-intercepts. So how do I find those 2 points? So I'm going to go second, calculate, and it's called a 0. You need your calculator to be left, right, and then enter. Okay, and then you have to repeat that process again for the other one. Okay, by the way, I do this a little bit faster because on mine, I know it's between the x of -3 and 0, for instance. So when I do it, I go calculate the 0, and I say, hey mouse, move left. So I just do -3, move to the right, 0, so that I don't have to waste my time doing the move it, move it. Okay, so if you are ready for that, that makes it a little bit faster. Okay, now I need the y-intercept. So that's this coordinate right here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to tell my mouse to go to 0. So trace 0. 0, enter. And then it went there, so this coordinate is 0, 11. Because a y-intercept means the x is 0. Okay, the domain, how far left to right are we moving? So what is the most left? So this is heading to negative infinity. The most right, this is heading to positive infinity. Range. You're going to be going from low to high. That's how you do range. What's the lowest to the highest? So if you need to write down that on your cheat sheet, I would suggest, if you don't understand the range and domain, make sure you put domain is left to right and range is low to high. If you want those descriptors on your cheat sheet. Okay, so the lowest is the height of -7 exactly, so square bracket. The highest is, it goes up, 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 so infinity. Okay, what is a point that's symmetric to -1, 1? So if I'm right there, -1, 1, what would be the symmetric point to that? Okay, I showed you two ways to do this. If you like algebra, you can just be, hey, what did I do to move right and up? And then I'll do the same left and up. So what did you move from -3 to -1? From -3 to -1 means I went 2 to the right. So now to get to this point, I would have to move 2 that way. So it would be -5, 1. Okay, some of you liked the other method I showed you, which was draw me a line at 1. Okay, obviously this is the -1, 1. And then I can second calculate the intersection. I have to move my mouse closer to that intersection. Enter, enter, enter. And there's the second intersection point. Okay, so you can pick which method you want. It's either that you're moving right and left the same distance, or you can just do a Y line and intersect them. Okay, I'm going to get that out of there. So I'm just going to delete that line just to go back to this. Okay, what is the height when x equals 2? So on those, you can just go trace 2. You can tell your mouse to go to the 2. So trace 2. So the height is 43. So when I have an x and I want a y, I just tell my mouse to go there. At what positive x value is the height 100? So now I'm going to make my y2 100. And I think I'm going to really have to change my window, because before we were only going up to 10. So let's go to our window. Obviously, I'm going to have to see 100. So y max, I'm going to do 125. And I'm going to go up by tens. because I need to see 100, so I'm going to change that. Okay, so there's two intersections over here and over here, but it told me a positive x value, so I'm looking for exactly that. I'm going to calculate the intersection. Enter, enter, enter. So 4.31 is where it is intersecting an x value. Okay, anything we need to write on our cheat sheet from all? Okay, where does this equation equal this equation? Provide a sketch. So I'm going to go in y1. I'm going to type this into y1, and I'm going to type this into y2. And I'm going to zoom 6 again just to reset my graph as well. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. I would like to see a little bit higher and a little bit lower because I want to see that intersection down there. So window, I'm going to go from -15 to 15 on my y just to see here. Okay, I think I have a good enough idea of a sketch here. So this is what it's kind of looking like for me. I have an upside down parabola shape and I have a line cutting through it. So where are they going to equal each other is there and there. But how I answer this question is important. I get a lot of answers that are wrong. Pretend that you didn't graph it and you had to work this out algebraically. When you're done your algebra on this, your answer will be x equals. So that's what I want to know. I don't want to know the coordinate. I want to know x equals what. That's the answer to this equation solving. When you think about solving this with algebra, you would get an x equals answer. So this is how I'm going to get my x equals. So second, calculate intersection, enter, enter, enter. So one of the answers is x equals 1.36. So that is how I would answer that question with an x equals. Okay, factoring, you know what I would maybe do if I was you? These questions that I'm going to do, I would actually put all these questions right on my cheat sheet. I would just do them along with me on your cheat sheet so that you have an example of each one if you want. So if you want to just forget doing them on your paper right now, I would do these on your cheat sheet and title it Factoring. So factoring on your cheat sheet. Okay, so when I see this, we did a bunch of styles, and this one was called a simple trinomial. Simple trinomial. So this is what we did, 2 brackets. Simple trinomial is 2 brackets. What times what makes x squared? And so this is the rule. What multiplies and adds? So you have to think of 2 numbers that multiply to positive 30 and add to negative 11. To get something that works, would it be a negative 5 times a negative 6? That multiplies to 30 and adds to negative 11. Okay, now our actual answer is what would make this 0? So 5 or 6. Those are the opposites because 5 subtract 5 would make 0. Okay, second one. This one is called a difference of squares. So you want one of each example on your cheat sheet probably, so that's why I picked these. Difference of squares. So 2 brackets. So I have to think of what times what makes 9x squared, and it will be the same thing, same thing. What in the same thing? So 3x times the 3x would make 9x squared. Then in the last spot, I have to think what times what makes 25, and I'm always trying to think the same thing. So 5 times 5. Then, how do I get a negative on a multiplying? One is positive and one is negative, and that's why there's nothing in the middle of this trinomial, right? This is kind of a trinomial, 3 things. There's nothing in the middle because the plus, the minus cancel each other out. So the answer is, what makes that 0? Negative 5 divided by 3, positive 5 divided by 3. Okay, C is this style called GCF. Okay, so my question is, what can I take out? Both of them could be divided by what? And I'm trying to divide the most I possibly can out. So they're both divisible by, I could divide them both by a 5 and by an x. So when you're taking this out, by the way, it's dividing out. When I say take out, it's dividing. Okay, so what happens to the 5x squared if it's divided by 5x? What do I have left? X. Negative 20x divided by 5x would be minus 4. By the way, you can check, because you're better at going forward. Does that multiply to that? So now, what would I make x in each bracket to cause a 0? 5 times what? Well, 5 times 0. Or I could have had 4, because 4 minus 4 is 0. Okay, number 4D. So this one is called a complex trinomial. And it's complex because it starts with a 4x squared. The last one was just a 1x squared. Okay, so this is what we did. We said, what's the FLA? So what's the first times the last? 12. How can I make 12? 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. Out of all those sets, I'm also going to have to add to 8. So how am I going to add to 8? Okay, so I'm looking to multiply to the FLA and add to the 8. Okay, both of them are going to be positive as well, right? To get positive 8, to get positive 12. Okay, so how did I create the FLA? So what is the option for me to get the FLA, or the first? So x, 4x, or I could go 2x, 2x. Those are the options to make a 4x squared. What are the options to make the L? 1 times 3. That's the only thing you can do. So now I'm going to look at the puzzle here and group something to make a 2 and something to make a 6. So 2 and 6. Okay, now I have to fit all the puzzle pieces in to my brackets. So 2x times 2x is how I made my 4x squared. And now I'm going to do some rainbow arcs here. What am I partnering with 2? What am I partnering with 2? So 2x with the 1. This 2x with the 3. So you can see my O makes 2x, my I makes 6x. Together that would produce my 8x. Okay, both of these answers are fractions, so how do I write them? Negative 3 divided by 2. Negative 1 divided by 2. Okay, and then now it says verify with graphing. So I'm going to enter the y equals equation here. I'm going to do that. Graph. Calculate the 0. So I need to go left and right. So that's good. I got a negative 0.5. Right? And we got negative 0.5, so that's good. Calculate the 0. We get a negative 1.5. Okay, you can do that with any of the above, right? You could have graphed any of these and got your answer, but you'd have to still show me your factoring. So any of these above, you could have also checked your answer with your calculator. So for instance, 5x squared minus 20x, if I had typed that in, because you're going to have your calculator with you, but you do have to show me your work. So I can check my answer. Yep, 0, 0, 4, 0. Yep, those are my answers, and that's what I got. 0 and I got 4.